I'm Amita. Come create with me. In this post, I want to talk about this idea that suppressing your creativity can hurt and it can harm you. I don't think that suppressing your creativity is something that is harmless, that you can just cruise past, or creativity isn't something that you can deny. It is something that is not just a phase for people that are creative. Now, I don't know if, you might say everyone is creative. You might, I don't know. I really actually don't know the answer. What I do think is that most people have the ability or the capacity to feel really passionately about something. And that something isn't just, it might be obviously your family or your friends, it might be those things, but I think the capacity to feel passionately about a cause or a thing that you love doing. It could be writing or creating or painting or research or cooking or education. It could be all different kinds of things. It could be cycling. But I think everyone has the capacity for that, or most people have the capacity for it. But when I talk about the creative brain, I'm talking about people who have a hunger to create, and that hunger isn't a phase, isn't a state of mind. It is a persistent restlessness that lies within you, and it feels like a craving, and it feels like a hunger, and it feels like something that will not shut up. It will keep knocking. It will say, Amita, you need to be creating, you need to be creating, you need to be creating. It's like a little gremlin that sits on your shoulder and that won't let you be. You can call it all kinds of things. You can go to therapy for it. You can, you can do all kinds of things. You can do certainly a lot of toxic things, because when you don't feed that hunger what it really wants, it will turn to things that aren't great for you to try and fill that thing that feels like a void, that feels like a restlessness. I've certainly done that. I've certainly used food, to kind of feed that hunger. I've used television. I've used toxic relationships or toxic crushes that, unrequited crushes that weren't even real relationships. I've used all kinds of things. And the thing with those things that you use, those addictions, whatever your addiction is, we all have them. We've all used them. The thing with those is that it also gives you the illusion that you're filling that void or that hunger. It gives you the illusion that there is something creative in what you're doing. Odds are, if you are a very creative person, you also feel things very intensely. So if you think about an unrequited relationship, or even television programs that you're watching on a loop, they do give you connection with that intensity and with those intense feelings. It allows you, that addiction allows you to feel loss and grief and joy and the heights of feelings, the extremes of feelings, your grief, your melancholy, your all of those feelings. So because of that, and because the other thing is the world kind of gives us those things in abundance, doesn't it? It says you use the television, use your food, look at how much food there is and look at how much you can eat, and but also be slim, and whatever the messages we get. But the messages that we get actually feed the idea that those addictions, whatever those are, will fill the void that you feel. That's a really dangerous message, because actually those don't really feed you for very long. You realize at some point in your life, if you're lucky, you will realize that those addictions, I've certainly realized, I've come to realize with different things, so for example, food, going, actually, I feel worse often when I've eaten, because then I'm worrying about what I've eaten. Or if I'm watching loads and loads of television, I've got nothing to show for it at the end of it. Or unrequited crushes. I mean, they let you experience intense emotions at the time, but actually they don't really, you're not left with anything. You're not left with a sense of connection. You're not left with a sense of being accepted by someone or accepting someone else. You're not really left in any kind of generative, any kind of wholesome feeling. And so you realize over the years that actually those things aren't really working for you. Then you still come back to the problem that there is still that restlessness and the void and the hunger. And I genuinely believe that people who are really creative, who have that real inner restlessness, maybe everyone does, I don't know, but people who do need to feed it creativity. They need to tune in to their most creative side. And you might have multiple creative outlets. That's another thing about creative people, that people who really have that creative hunger will use loads and loads of different things. So I mostly write. I do write fiction, but I will write articles at times, and at times I'll be just even the times when I'm maybe composing a tweet, it's sort of creative. But I also sometimes I draw. Sometimes in my life I've painted, not very well, but just a dabble. Sometimes I've tried to teach myself sewing, languages, like all different kinds of things. Connection, certainly, I find connecting with people in sort of large social situations, which I find very, very exhausting, but there's also something creative about it if you really genuinely connect with people. So I've certainly used loads and loads of different creative things to keep myself from, to feed that hunger. But I do think that denying that hunger is toxic, and it never goes away. That hunger is not going to go away. What can you feed it? Your task really, I think, our tasks in life are to find out, if we're creative people, what is going to feed that hunger. What is it? Is it writing? Is it creating new recipes? Is it painting? Is it education? Is it knitting? Is it making jewelry? Is it, I don't know, is it all of those things? Is it making music and sounds and multimedia? Whatever your thing is, connecting with people through social media can also be that thing if you're doing it in a positive way. So your task is really to find out what will feed that creative, desperate need to it's a need to belong to yourself. It's a need to belong in your own body. It's a need to feel whole, and to feel your most authentic self. I do think there's a caveat to that, and I'll do another post on it. But I think that creativity, if not fed wholesome things, like creativity can take a negative turn, and it can turn to where you're harming yourself, or in fact going on a rampage and hurting other people, which I think a lot of our politicians, for example, do. So you kind of want some kind of ethical code to go with your creativity that says, actually, I won't harm other people. So yeah, what is that? What is that for you? I hope that you'll come on this journey with me, so that we can find out what our creative hungers are and how we can feed them the most, so that we can be our most sort of creative, wholesome selves that can also connect with other people in a positive way. If you like what you hear, do please like it and subscribe and follow, and do get in touch on my other social media channels. I'm always, I think, at Amita Murray. So do get in touch, and it'd be lovely to hear from you. Thank you.